You're listening to the Medic Materials Podcast, hosted by Mike Turek, Emily Yates, Kelsey Coons, and Gerard Cuomo. All are current EMS providers and educators with a combined 30 years experience. Each month, we discuss EMS news, medical science, and review actual EMS calls, bringing many educational opportunities to the listener. Portions of the calls have been altered to protect the privacy and identity of all involved.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the Medic Materials Podcast. How was that cringe today, Gerard?
So, you've heard, the face that launched 1,000 ships?
Yep.
That's the voice that sank 1,000 ships.
Dear U.S. military, if you're looking for a weapon, we've got one right here.
Oh,
start jamming all the Chinese communications with that shit.
Oh, I love it. It really is entertainment watching you go, oh!
It's a stroke every day.
It's because I like the music's playing and I'm just like, do, and all of a sudden, there's the voice. Ah, shit. Caught me off guard.
It happens every time. How are you still getting caught off guard?
That is true. I mean, this is like, what, episode 36, 37, something like that? You should be used to it by now.
I'm a slow learner.
Apparently.
We need pictures for him.
Oh, man.
If it ain't
And
a pop-up
pictographs.
book, forget it.
Yeah.
No pop-up.
Good gravy.
You wouldn't want to see my kind of pop-up.
Oh, damn. Jesus Christmas, man. Oh,
I hope you
fuck.
could feel the disappointment radiating off of me right now.
All right, so with that said, we are, of course, here with Gerard and paramedic intern Kelsey. And guys, I know, I'm just going to hit her theme song because you should know it now.
Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y. Why? Because you're
Kelly.
Kelly of mine.
So yeah, Emily was not able to join us for this recording session, so we have our esteemed guest.
Oh, she completely tapped out?
Yeah, I haven't heard from her, so
No.
I'm assuming that we are going to be
Kelly's got her tied
Emily
up in
List.
the trunk,
She
Damn
wanted
it,
more
Kelly.
airtime.
She's like, hey, you ain't stealing my thunder, bitch.
We should ask her in private about that, because she's got that devious look.
I don't know. Hey.
Yeah, her and the Cheetos.
Right?
Hey, Cheetos are yummy. They're so yummy.
I bet they're great now that they're, 8 days old? Sitting down?
No, they're like an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
It was literally
Want a
my
snack?
snack as I was putting up all the stuff
okay.
to record today.
All right.
And then I literally just forgot about them.
A half a snack.
Half a snack.
It's a riveting conversation.
Yep. Everyone loves it.
Everyone just went click.
So, Kelsey, let's do your rig check, and then we will get into today's call review.
So guys, we have recently changed our email address, so for any questions, comments, or feedback you have, please email info.medicmaterials@gmail.com. We're especially asking that you send in any cool or interesting calls that you've done to show us for a review. For us to review on the show, you can email us those... Yeah, I can own that one. You can email us those calls at our new email. Make sure you rate and review the podcast on whatever streaming platform you listen from. And if you want to support Medic Materials by buying our merch or using our Leatherman partnership below, you can use the link tree, which is going to be below on any of our videos, our YouTube videos, or our podcast videos. And today we are shouting out our listeners in Nepal and Maryland.
Nepal. Viva Nepal.
Where is Nepal?
Above India.
You know where the Himalayas are?
Why did I think it was Italian?
Because
You're thinking of Naples.
That would make sense.
So literally, like, the only thing I know in Nepalese is Iogra Kale.
which translates to?
Shrek.
The Gurkhas are upon you. If you hear that, you're probably going to be Cuisinarted in about 3 seconds by a kukri.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All of that was gibberish.
Yeah.
You didn't know who Ramstein and or John Denver was.
I knew what John Denver said.
you didn't.
So all you out there now ponder this: what kind of conversation were we having that had John Denver and Rammstein in it?
That is also
How much you want to bet half your listeners don't know who Rammstein is?
That's
By
it.
the way, John Denver sings Country Roads for all you struggling out there.
Yes, they already knew.
Everybody knew, but you.
I don't think everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody knew.
Even the Gurkhas in Nepal know.
But in other news, we did we infrequently talk about EMS news here on the podcast, but it is one thing that we can talk about. I just wanted to bring up the aircraft news with the Hagerstown Air Methods aircraft that did crash in a suburb of Philly shortly before we recorded this. It's one of those things where I actually got the text message from a friend of mine with like a picture of, hey, fallen aircraft by a church. And the friend was like, is your wife working? So it's one of those things that, hits home for us. Cause then I'm like, okay, well, what aircraft is it? And where did it actually go down? Because around here, it could just be my wife. Who knows? But, safely to say she doesn't fly that far into Pennsylvania. So it had to be an aircraft from down there. But, kudos to the pilot. He did, like we were discussing, did exactly what he was supposed to do to land that aircraft. And everyone came out with literally minor injuries. Yeah. So it was absolutely perfect.
That's what you trained for, yeah.
Exactly. So it's
funny, like you even said that, because in my former life, it would be the same thing. We'd hear an aircraft went down, and like the first thing is you just start calling everybody you know.
Right. Everyone
like, hey, dude, are you still alive?
Yep. And literally, that's exactly what I did. I sent my wife a picture of what my friend had sent me, and I said, are you still among the living?
Right.
Are you dead yet?
Right. Are you dead yet? And then it took her, of course, like an hour and a half to answer, and I'm like, fuck you.
Do I finally get to the cool side of the bet?
But yeah, so I just wanted to touch base on that. Shut up. I didn't even hear and acknowledge what you said until just now.
Awful.
Like, it registered, and then I was talking, and I didn't really ponder it.
I regretted it as soon as I said it. I was like, man, that's fucked up. I can't. Nah, that's wrong.
Oh man, but yeah. So getting into this call review today, just a warning to you guys that this call kind of takes place in two parts. So and we'll kind of gather why a little bit in time, but there's something that occurs within this call that I have literally never ever witnessed before, and I'm almost wondering on the legalese of things if it's actually legal to do. So there's something that we're going to talk about later on. But
I already got the title for this one.
Okay, you are the title master.
Barely legal.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Great pay-per-view.
Hey, and you know what?
Great pay-per-view, by the way.
And look at all the more other people that you'll attract just with that
What
title.
did you guys drink before you came down here today?
Nothing, actually. Completely sober as a jaybird.
As a jaybird.
Yeah.
I have to go to work in a few hours. There's nothing in my system.
I just have to go home in my pajamas.
Because it's radio.
That's right.
So the system that we're in is located in a rural town of about 4,000 people, which is covered by a local private ambulance that staffs its rigs with the standard configuration of one EMT basic and one paramedic. The hospitals within this area, there is one local hospital within the town of 4,000 people. We label it a hospital, but it is more of a critical access center. Okay. They do admit certain patients, but they're only admitted for like dehydration, sepsis, very minor things that they can handle. The next closest hospitals are approximately 1 hour away, north and south from this town. So you guys are dispatched a Delta priority or priority 1 to a local maximum security prison for a 32-year-old male with altered mental status and possible traumatic injuries. So before we even get into the rest of everything, have you guys ever done calls within the prison system?
Yes.
I recently got yelled at because I was too nice to an inmate.
you know, I've
I can't honestly say that I would ever yell at somebody for that. They're still human beings. Like, I don't really care what I'm going in there for, nor what they've done to be in there.
Unless they've given me a reason to be that way.
Exactly.
I'm just like, hey man, what's up? You know, hey.
Exactly.
You know,
treat them like humans.
Life already sucks for them pretty much. So,
yeah.
you know.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to go
Free
through
education,
I'm not going to
they're
go through the
doing better
litany
than
of that we've already covered in the last one we did with, you know, where we pretty much went down the entire spectrum of things you need to worry about in prison. But,
Right.
but
that was a
forget
great
about
episode.
that episode.
Oh,
yeah,
it was phenomenal.
Yeah, we're well steeped.
Wasn't ass oxygen in that one or
yes,
something
like that. Yeah.
Bi-hemispheric oxygen.
Bi-hemispheric oxygenation. Yes, I remember that. But yeah, no, I've done I've state penitentiaries, county jails, stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's a challenge in its own right. So I've been up and down the spectrum, right? I've been in all female prisons. I've been in juvenile prisons. I've been in local, you know, county jails, state prisons. I've even been into.
Would scare me the most.
You know,
teenagers are mean on a
baseline.
baseline.
So I will tell you, juvie was actually it's a juvenile center that I was in for a long time.
What did you do?
Yeah, I know, right? And
he makes it sound like he went to juvie.
He killed a man just to watch him die.
I will tell you how often that we went into this juvenile center was crazy. Like you would go in there 3 times a week in this district. It was insane. And so yeah, literally you felt like you lived there. And yeah, I will agree. They were always the most irritable, aggressive patients.
Teenagers are awful to begin with.
You go into the maximum security federal prison that I used to go into, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, take care of me, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, but yeah, like there is challenges getting in and out.
Getting in and out
is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, especially with anything that's time sensitive. It's like
right.
You're sitting there and they're wanding underneath the vehicle. They're checking all your IDs, and it's just like, oh, come on, dude.
Right. You know, and then as we'll see in this call, a lot of times they take some of your stuff. You're not allowed to go in with certain things.
Yeah, no sharps, shit like
that.
Yeah.
So now you're just like, okay, well, now what am I supposed to do? You know, if it's critical, if it's a critical type of patient. So, as you're getting there, dispatch tells the EMS crew that they're being requested to enter through the front entrance of the prison and not through the normal way, which is the truck trap.
Right.
As their patient is still located within the cell block and not in the prison infirmary. So that in our area happens very infrequently. Like you don't go into the cell blocks; they bring them into the infirmary, and you go in through the infirmary.
I think the only one I did at the one that's around here, where we didn't do the infirmary, we didn't go to the cell blocks. It was like that,
like a holding.
Yeah, no, where they have like to do their activities, like the trustees and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's not like
it's almost like an atrium kind of thing. Yeah,
and it was it was an unresponsive dude that he said all he did was smoke a cigarette that the homies gave him, but he came around with Narcan. So
yep.
Yeah.
Hey,
that fucked you up.
That cigarette was nice.
Careful with them homies, you know.
So the crew finally arrives at the prison and unloads their gear onto the stretcher. They take in their first in bag, their airway and oxygen bag, and then the medic brings in their ALS bag. Once inside the front entrance, they are met by multiple corrections officers at the front desk. Their gear is searched, and all EMS shears, personal knives are taken. Both of the phones of the providers are taken. Their unit radio is taken.
I don't like that.
As well as the paramedics' keys are taken after unlocking their ALS bag.
That makes me... I don't like that even
So,
more.
again, how comfortable would you guys be with something like this? Like, now you've lost all communication with the outside world except for the guards.
I mean, I'm not necessarily worrying about that because they are there.
Right.
And they're wired up for, everything they need to call.
Yep.
So I'm not too worried about that. The thing I don't like is, you're not taking my freaking narcotic keys.
That's,
Yep.
No.
That's what
Sorry.
Yeah, because, again, most agencies have their ALS bag is locked, but their narcs are locked inside of that with their own separate locks. So you take those keys, you don't have access to narcotics, right?
Yeah. No.
Right.
Not playing that game.
You know, so then what do? Do you leave your narcs? Do you fight for one key? Do you go back outside and lock up your narcs outside? Like, what would you do in that situation?
You don't have to be a dick about it. Just be like, look, I have narcotics I'm responsible for. They're either staying with me, my keys are staying with me, you can keep the bag, keys stay with me, or I got to put the bag back and lock it up.
Right. You know, but then you lose all of your, like, unless you're just talking to, like, your narcotics bag, you know, then you lose all of your stuff.
Now, are they taking it and carrying it with them, or are they taking it and putting it somewhere else? Because you might even be able to bargain, hey, I can't have my keys, but you're going to have to hold on to them, and you're going to stay with me at all times. You might be able to play that chip.
I mean, that's a possibility, too. Or, I mean, even if you wanted, they're going to lock all this stuff up in the front desk locker anyway, lock up the narcotics with the keys in there. But again,
I don't like that one either.
It's your responsibility. So, you know, playing devil's advocate, just things to think about, because there's a lot of people that have never done prison calls, you know?
Prison.
So the crew is led through the prison to one of the cell blocks. They pass through about 5 of the, you know, barred doors on their route to the cell block. And they currently have 4 corrections officers with them. When the crew arrives at the cell block, they enter through a gated doorway into a large atrium that's surrounded by 2 levels of like a big circle. Yep. So it's almost like an activity.
On the TV shows.
Exactly.
It's a pod.
It's a pod.
Yeah.
So there are inmates in all the cells, and you're in this atmosphere of screaming, yelling nonstop because, again, there's stuff happening. Right. I've been in this situation before. It's loud. It's echoey. It's loud. It's unnerving at times. So the officers lead you to the middle of the atrium by a section of tables, and there's another dozen guards surrounding your patient in a big circle.
Jesus.
So the patient's found laying on the right side on the floor of the atrium. The crew moves within the guard circle and makes contact with their patient for the first time in about 30 minutes, this process from getting on scene to getting to the actual patient.
That's insane.
Now, 30 minutes is absolutely nothing. Yeah. I've waited way longer to get inside of prisons. I know. 30 minutes is fucking nothing. So
no, they literally, like, have you ever seen, anyone out there seen Spaceballs when they say, you know, comb the desert?
Yeah.
That's literally what they do to your freaking truck and all your shit.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You think you're being a little too literal with this? No.
Nope.
We're combing the desert.
Yep. Yeah. So they're when they enter this circle, they're met with the facility RN who is with the patient attempting to bandage wounds. They find the patient unresponsive to verbal stimuli. Or responsive to verbal stimuli. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's completely different.
Yeah,
that changes the whole story.
Here, I'll hit the button. So, responsive to verbal stimuli with groans only. He offers no verbal conversation other than just sporadic groans and moans. Wow. Yeah, pretty much. He is currently on a non-rebreather mask set to 15 liters oxygen. And as the EMT gets down next to him, finds a large pool of blood under the right side and under his back.
I'm willing to bet this wasn't a horrible laundry accident.
I'm willing to bet you're going to have a lot of good things to say in this episode.
I'm willing to bet that I know the proper grammar on what happened.
As long as I can get a toss and a salad joke in, I'll be happy.
I'm pretty sure that, Kelsey, you can go to Shanksville on this one.
No. It's shivved. You can't get shanked. You got to get, we actually Googled this the one day. It's a shivving, not a shanking.
Mm-hmm. Listen to this.
We Googled this the one day.
Why?
Because Kelsey knows prison life. You watch.
Is this where you're finding your nerds? Nerds.
I don't remember how it got brought up now. We were talking about this. We're like, what's the difference between a shiv and a shank? And we had to actually Google it.
When she walks out today,
the
her
shank
pants
is
will
the
be like halfway
noun,
down.
the shiv is the verb.
There you go. Now you know.
Now you know.
And
so,
now you know enough.
Hold on. So then, because this is the first time I've learned that there's a difference.
Oh, there's a difference.
So are you telling me by the shiv? Or is it you've got shivved by the shank?
Shivved by the shank.
Shivved by the shank. Shank is the noun, shiv is the verb.
First off, one of our listeners in prison, we need a ruling on this.
First off, if you want to ever talk about a badass porn title, Shiv by the Shank is phenomenal.
Wow. You just got an AVN award. There you go.
So this prisoner got shivved?
Yes. So
okay.
So They roll him over to examine him and find that his airway is open. However, his face is severely swollen and bloodied. There's both
Shaved and beat.
There's both dried and non-dried blood. Blood dried. Blah, blah.
Yeah, you pissed somebody off.
Yeah. So there is both dried and non-dried blood within the airway, as well as some missing dentition.
Mm-hmm.
There are large blotches of blood stains on his clothes. The medic lifts up the shirt and finds multiple puncture and stab wounds scattered around the thorax. There's also heavy bruising noted to the left chest wall. Lung sounds are taken almost immediately and found to be diminished on the right side with shallow ventilations and absent on the left side.
Oh, good.
In both the apices and the bases. He has a carotid pulse, but barely present radial pulses. So with this initial presentation, we've already, established the shiv and the shanking. Where do you guys believe this crew needs to be heading first?
I mean, as long as the airway, if it's not full of blood right now, just maybe keep somebody on that just to keep an eye on it. Definitely secure it, maybe MPA. But right now I'm going to the chest, and I want to maybe seal some of that shit up.
Yeah, because there's no gurgling or bubbling or sounds coming from the airway.
Just keep an eye on it, but don't get focused on it.
And with the missing dentition, I'm more prone to go OPA here just because of all the facial trauma.
Well, if he's responding to voice.
But he's still responsive. So at this point, you can't really do, any airway. Because again, I would be hesitant to put in the OP or the NPA because of the facial trauma.
Okay.
I don't know how deep that goes.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have a picture of him, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Neither do I.
All right.
So
we'll just say he's
we're watching
AFU, so he's all fucked up.
Yes.
And we'll just
not
go
yet
ahead
FUBAR'd, but
right. He's just all
AFU.
fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I would start breaking out the chest seals.
I agree. So the RN reports to the EMS crew that according to the guards, there was a gang attack on this individual, which caused the guards to lock down the block. Along the attack, guards witnessed multiple improvised knives and puncture weapons being used multiple shanks being used along with hands and feet. So
the nice trifecta.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have all three.
Right.
It wouldn't be a gang attack without all three.
Exactly.
So the RN and the EMT begin bandaging wounds on the thorax. They find
How many are there?
We'll get there.
Oh.
So they find a puncture wound to the left pec area, and they find multiple deep lacerations of varying size to the abdomen and right flank. They count 7 individual wounds on the thorax and abdomen. The EMT only applies 1 occlusive dressing, and that's over the puncture wound on the left chest, on the left pec area. And when I did a little bit more digging, they only applied 1 occlusive because that's all they had.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like they could just go, chest seal for this, chest seal for that, chest seal for this, and do all 7.
I mean,
And really, the other ones...
Well, I was going to say, I mean, in a situation like this, you might need them later. But, we know he's not a pediatric, so, I mean, you have pediatric pads in your monitor.
Yep.
You could always just snip one off, and you got an occlusive dressing right there. But
yep. Or, I mean...
That's so cool.
What is the way we always said, use...
Sandwich bag.
Use the use the baggie that
from a non-rebreather.
The non-rebreather.
Cannula, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Tape 3 sides down.
Yep. So there's improvised ways that you could deal with other, I
mean, the abdomen stuff, we're going to worry about that later. But, yeah, I mean, the one under the right, we said the right.
So there's
mid-axillary?
one right flank area.
Yeah.
It wasn't described to me. It was just right flank. I don't know if it's in the chest.
High up or not.
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
But
let's just say if it's above the bottom of the rib cage, then I probably would, depending on what it looked like.
Right.
That might be the second place to go.
Yep. I agree. And I think the abdominal wounds,
we'll get to those.
Let's bandage them, but I don't think, we have to
if I don't have an Israeli,
dressing them. Right.
I mean, we'll deal with them later.
Right. So the medic at this time does something I disagree with. They move and get the stretcher to begin extrication out of the prison. Bleeding is mildly controlled from all of these sites at this point in time. And bandaging that is there is quickly being soaked through. So here you go, Emily, your wet bandage.
Well, no.
I don't disagree.
I was just gonna say you and me may be on the same page here.
Okay.
I don't necessarily disagree. I'm sure there's other factors that we probably don't have. We're not privy to, but not even from a security standpoint. Like having a perimeter or anything. So I'm not necessarily worried about that with all the guards. But let's be honest. I mean, shit can go down quick.
Right. Absolutely.
But just knowing how long it takes to get in and out of these places, it might be the more prudent thing is, hey, let's get the show on the road and we'll work on the way.
Plus, you have extra hands. I mean, guards can move a stretcher just fine, and your EMT and the nurse can all be doing things on the go.
I mean, in that situation,
but again, how functional really can I be bandaging while moving or doing something while moving?
I think it's a situational thing, but like let's just say it's like a worst case scenario, shit's getting real. We need to get the fuck out of there just because, it takes a half hour to get the hell back out of the prison.
Now you're already
an
hour and a half since it's happened.
Let's keep going.
He's already lost that much
blood. Let's
blood.
start moving, and I'll do the best I can.
I don't have I don't carry blood. The only thing that's really going to stabilize this guy is an OR.
Yeah, I mean, unless they have like a full, like wonderfully stocked infirmary.
They don't.
Of course they don't, but
it's a prison.
I don't think I disagree.
It could be California,
Yeah, and even still, things are under lock.
But I'm just so.
I mean, I get where you're going.
Yeah,
and I see the benefit in it. The only thing that I can play devil's advocate for is, again, there are certain times where I'm not saying sit there for 30 minutes,
right?
But maybe sitting there and taking an extra 5 to really figure out your ABCs, fix certain ABCs, before we just go, okay, we're going to bolt.
Yeah, I'm not saying like bolt with no plan.
Right.
But like definitely like know what you want to do before you start moving.
Right. And even there, like we have, chest wounds with absent lung sounds.
Right. That
nothing's been done for at this point, and they're going and getting the extrication stuff. That's still in B. We haven't even completed B, in full theory. So I think that's where I'm hesitant to let's fix ABC to our best of our abilities and then go.
I can agree to that. But like I said,
but I get your point. It is going to take
like
an extra 30 minutes to get out.
This guy, we can bag him while we're walking down the hallway.
Yep. Suckily, but we can do it.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like
it's not something you can't do.
Right.
Yes.
Suckily.
That was a good word. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It fit.
Whatever. I'm not even gonna have no dig on that one.
No, I'm excited about that.
I know he made that shit right the fuck up, but
yes, I did.
But we're definitely sticking with it. That is now in the lexicon.
Yes. All right. So the
Suckly Dokley.
So the medic gets the stretcher, right? Bleeding's mildly controlled, bandages being quickly soaked through at this point. He's moved on to the stretcher. Now, anyone who knows prison, operations, this would be the time where all of the guards would normally place the prisoner into all of the hard restraints. Right. However, they were like, fuck that. This guy is way too incapacitated to move.
So here's one thing that I would demand before we go anywhere. Who here searched him?
Yep. Yeah. No. According to the story I got, no one ever asked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, is he searched? Does he have a weapon on him?
Right.
Yeah, he's responsive to verbal stimuli. But,
there could be something in the old prison wallet that we don't know about, know, so.
Yeah, and you know what? Who knows what he's going to do if he wakes up?
It may be slippery, but I want to know about it.
Damn. I'm so glad. Did that go over your head?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I really got it.
Oh, my God, Jesus.
That's what the blank look is for.
Okay, good.
Okay.
For all of them that did get that, gross.
It's prison. What do you want?
The only thing I've seen, Matt, you know those, I don't know, they were toys when, like, I was a kid, and they were like the little plastic tube things.
Don't.
I'm already waiting.
What were they called?
The toy where you stick the
Why
thing in its ass?
why is she saying plastic tubes?
Yeah, they had, like, the little jelly inside, and they were, like, little fishes.
What?
Shit, they were an actual thing. Please hold.
They were an actual thing.
What are they called?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
They were like some cheap dollar store toy.
Oh my god. So, can I let her in on what we're talking about?
I don't want to know. Just keep going. Just keep going. I want my innocence on this one. Keep going.
Hey, everyone has Google. They can Google the old prison wallet.
Oh no, they know. They know. I was talking about her.
No, we can keep going. I want the pass on that one.
All right.
But you know what I'm talking about?
No, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going.
I'm going to go to
assume
the
it's
dollar store
probably
and find
similar.
one. I'm going to go to the dollar store and find one.
Please don't. Typically, you don't go to the dollar store for
You
these.
really don't want to give me visual aids.
I don't know. You're just going to be like,
I'm sorry. That's just, yeah.
The
Anyhow,
bugbears.
moving on. Moving
All
on.
right.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So he's too incapacitated at this point in time to, that in the guard's belief, require restraints.
Okay.
So movement out of the prison is then started. And once outside the prison, he's placed into the ambulance. Now, we've figured out that this guy is, more or less fairly serious, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we've also kind of, had the discussion that this medic really hasn't done a lot as of yet, right? So
I'm still want to give him the, let him have a long leash on this because the
There's
situation
other-
of where we're at
right,
and all that.
there's
I mean,
other circumstances. So where do you guys, what is that next step for this paramedic?
ABCs.
yeah.
Start
let's,
again.
Let's go ahead and start
You're
over
now in
again.
your office, like,
We kind of have it. Let's face it. We kind of have a baseline, and we know where we were.
Mhm.
Let's trend that. Let's go ahead and let's re-listen to lung sounds. Did anything get worse? Did anything get better?
Yep.
Especially with the one seal that we put on.
Yep.
Right. And then let's go ahead and get the full set of vitals. Hook them up to the monitor.
Yep.
Let me get access.
I agree.
You know.
So, you bring up access, and that's one thing that never actually happens in this call.
Really?
What?
And we'll get there. But one of the things that I always do in any prison call that I do, if I know that I'm going to be, obtaining IV access, I will actually do it prior to putting on any restraint. Solely because, yes, it is possible to straighten out arms,
It's just.
but it's a
easier.
whole lot easier to do it when they're on their stretcher.
Right.
They're cool. They're calm. They know they're getting shackled in 2 minutes. And I'm like, hey, pause, time out. Let's get an IV.
Right.
Then do all that stuff.
And I've had people. I mean, not in this bad of a shape coming out, but they know that there's something wrong, and they understand. Hey, we're here to help them.
Right.
And they know what the deal is. They know they're not getting out.
Right. Yeah, this isn't a
But
vacation.
they're
Like,
not going to
hey.
try. They're not going to try anything stupid because
Right.
they're really not in any shape to do it. So.
Right. Like I said, you treat them like people.
Right.
And it's
Right.
amazing how far you can get,
Yep.
So this paramedic does actually go down the vital sign route, right? Vital signs are taken, hooked up to the cardiac monitor. Blood pressure via the NIBP cuff returns as 41/20.
Oh, good.
Oh wow.
He is, like I said, he's placed on the cardiac monitor. Initial rhythm shows
I'm
a
surprised
sinus
that even
rhythm
showed.
in the 90s, which I am shocked at.
I'm sure it was
is
probably
he
well
on-
above 100
I'm-
earlier.
at one point it was.
Yeah.
And respiratory rate is between 9 and 10.
Very shallow.
Very shallow. Thank you, Kelsey. And an SpO2 is unreadable at this point in time.
Time out. I have a question.
No.
Okay. So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did we ever get like allergies, medical history, meds, anything like that before we left the facility?
You get a packet, but it was never given to me, so I
Okay.
can't relay that
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
I mean, like not like
So
it's the end of the world,
I
but
have no
like
idea.
I really want to know what you're allergic to.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care if he's taking omeprazole or anything.
No,
like that, but if he's allergic to opiates, that'd be kind of nice to know.
Right.
Or is he on a blood thinner?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be a
nice
really
to know,
good one,
too.
you
Yeah.
know?
And when was your last tetanus shot? If Emily was here, that's the only thing she'd want to know.
Because I'm going to fix that.
Uh,
She says nurses.
It's like getting a
will-
BG on him right now. Hey,
Right.
don't really fucking care.
Right.
You know?
The blood that he does still have left in his body is at 60.
Right.
Fuck off. Nobody cares.
But I think, yeah, after just a quick snag of vitals, I think we're going to go right back to the breathing issue.
I agree. I agree.
I think at this point, probably have my EMT start getting the BVM going.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm getting access, and we're going to take care
How
of that blood
responsive
pressure.
are we?
We got to start
Are we
doing
just-
do some volume replacement.
Yep.
Might have to needle decompress depending on
Yep.
what we
What you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, initially, that whole left side was absent.
Completely absent. Yeah.
You know, you had the opportunity to needle decompress then, you know, especially with the chest wound, you know, kind of thing.
Did we have that stuff with us?
That might be something you
Did they
might not
take
be
it?
able to
Again,
take.
You know.
from all accounts to me, the keys were taken, but the ALS bag was still there.
Okay.
So they should have had the proper equipment to do a needle decompression.
I mean, it also depends on where. I mean,
I know.
hate-
Are you
I hate
actually
going-
using?
Well, I'm just saying I hate going down this whole what if, because I mean we could be here all day doing this, but
But we enjoy it.
there are agencies where you know your needle decompression stuff is in your tube roll.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and they probably didn't let you take your tube roll in.
Mm-hmm.
So you know,
Yeah, and I know they carry their airway and oxygen bag, but I don't know if
Right.
that holds a tube roll.
right? So I mean,
Not something that
don't
I
know,
asked.
You know, we're in, so like, again, I'm not going to fault and say, hey,
Yep.
you know, they screwed the
Hey, you
pooch.
didn't do it right.
This is just a weird freaking situation. So
Yep, I agree.
yeah.
Now, would you have done the needle decompression right then and there, or would you have waited?
Inside. So this is something that I wanted to talk
I
about.
was gonna say if I had it with me and I heard absent lung sounds and we know we've had trauma, I probably would have done it right there.
Yeah, it's in your ABCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a life-saving,
Right.
you know, type of thing, intervention. Yeah. And that's kind of where I of course knew where this was going, and that's why I was saying take that extra 2 minutes
Yeah.
and do your ABCs in where you found them, in the cell block, behind the wall of security. Like, okay, I can waste 2 minutes to do a needle decompression, to get them BVM'd on oxygen, to, you know, do these other life-saving things in ABCs, so I'm not waiting 15 minutes to get out to the truck
Yeah.
before I start doing them.
like,
But I understand it is circumstantial. Like,
Right. Like I said, I'm not going to fault them for wanting to get the show on the road.
right, me neither.
I mean, if this was somebody's house,
It's
somebody
totally
was a
different
domestic or something went and somebody got shanked or whatever, shivved.
But
no,
hold on.
wait, hold on. If
Outside
it's
of prison, it's
right,
stabbed.
Right, stabbed. I'm sorry about that. I was just,
Use proper grammar.
I've been institutionalized. I'm sorry. But, oh wow, I am not going down that road.
Please don't.
Okay, yeah, no, good stuff. But yeah, I have things going through my head that I just do not want to.
Next.
Okay, so
Kelly, what do you got?
wow, good point.
That is a
Riveting.
really,
That's
really
awesome.
riveting
Wow,
point.
I never thought of that. But no, like
This is why we keep you around, Kelly.
exactly. Yeah, now shut the fuck up. So,
Step on
you
her toes,
you
why
talk
don't
too
you?
much. But yeah, I'm not going to necessarily fault them
Right.
in this particular situation.
Yep. So the once all the vital signs are taken, the medic actually goes and gets the BVM and begins ventilation.
What?
Yep.
Why?
Go ahead and hit the button.
What?
You're welcome. so,
Hit
so
the button.
hit the button. So yeah, the medic actually gets the BVM and begins to ventilate this guy.
How responsive are we at this point?
At this point, you're now into the painful
I
stimuli.
was like, at a blood
Yeah.
pressure 40 out of 20, I'd be surprised if you were anything less.
Yep.
But so we're deciding we're not going to do ALS stuff today.
Apparently,
Oh,
this is why this gets.
this is opposite day.
This is opposite
Oh,
day.
okay,
Apparently.
awesome. Right
Hey,
on.
So now,
maybe they're new.
no.
I'm going to do opposite day tomorrow.
So
Put your pants on
no.
backwards.
Now this is where the whole call I said gets interesting, right?
Okay.
Remember, there is the critical access center 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
I found out after, a fair amount of questioning, there's a level 2 trauma center 1 hour south. There is a small city hospital with no trauma services an hour north. There is even a level 1 trauma center about an hour and 45 minutes south.
Can you fly an inmate?
Absolutely. I was
How does that work?
So here's where
this is
it's going to get interesting.
This is what my question was going to be: is do we have air medical available? Because if they are, critical access hospital.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to go to the critical access. They're gonna freaking do whatever they have to do as far as respiratory therapy, whatever. I'm sure they have that there.
Yep.
And if we need to bring a flight crew down there and bring them the whole show back to wherever the chopper's at, I think that's probably a good plan.
Because critical access facilities.
Because I'm not taking this guy on the road for an hour.
Okay.
He ain't gonna make it.
He ain't gonna make it. I agree, 100%. He ain't making it.
Plus, critical access facilities also have blood.
Right.
And can air medical fly with blood with a doctor's orders?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can technically do anything with the doctor's orders, but
it's actually
Pennsylvania.
In New York State,
including the.
Oh wait, it's not Pennsylvania. I don't know where we are.
I know where we are, but I'm not going to tell you where we are. So
Maybe we're in Pennsylvania.
At least with my wife's company, in this state, if a doctor ordered them to have blood, they can take blood because they have a nurse on board.
Yep.
It has actually just been signed into law, and now they're making the transition that they will have blood on their helicopter at all times.
Yeah.
So even if they get a scene call and they need blood, they can now give blood on scene because they have that nurse on board.
I almost wonder if my thing had something to do with that.
I don't know. I honestly don't. I know it's been in the works for a long time.
We had to go to the hospital, and that's what we got that day.
Yeah. It's probably part of the long-standing reason as to why they got it back. Because they had it, then the state took it away, and now they gave it back to them.
Yeah, because that was a great example of, we really could have used that shit
Yep.
A little sooner.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he needs an airway, and he needs some volume replacement. And
correct.
You can only put so much saline in him before he codes anyways.
Right.
Yeah, and in fact, I'll be honest, man, if we get a couple of BPs cycled through that are around that same, reading.
Yep.
Of course, I'm going to start dumping fluid in, but I may just go ahead and get the freaking Levofit going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to wait.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on there.
Yeah.
Now, here's where this gets the whole interesting part of this. Yeah. We bring up air medical, right? Yep. Is it possible to fly an inmate? Sure.
Absolutely.
Right? However...
Yes, I didn't know what rules there were.
So get this, right? I've flown inmates, right? Yep. They've been, from lower tiered facilities. It's not the, the federal or the, maximum security.
It's not Hannibal Lecter.
Right.
Right.
Now, the crew does know that air medical is available. They are able to fly, and they're not contacted.
Why?
Because in this case, there's twofold reasons. One of which I can kind of understand. The second of which I don't understand, and that's where this goes fucking bonkers.
Okay.
The first is the aircraft that covers their area does not have enough room to hold a guard. So the guards were hesitant to release the patient with no guard there.
No, I get
that.
it.
I can understand.
So,
but in this
instance, he's probably not going to run away when he gets to the hospital.
Yeah, he's not faking this.
Right.
This is not incarceritis.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can see where they would be in a rock and a hard place kind of thing with that kind of mentality.
Also, how much do you want to fight?
But I mean,
right.
Well, what I was going to say, I'm going to fight for my patient.
Yeah, but
as much as I can.
Are you going to sit there and waste 45 minutes arguing with the guards?
Well, there could be a happy medium found, and and literally, I just thought it up just like this. Okay, we're going to fly him. You guys
get in your
little truck, start heading that way.
Yep.
And what we can do is we can contact the hospital there, have their security people, have deputies on hand to receive the helicopter.
Yep.
So he will be in custody the moment he touches the roof.
Right. Yeah. There's ways around it.
You got to give me something, guys.
And
you
at
know?
this point, he's not even honestly alert
Right.
enough. It's not like he's just really badly mangled and alert.
Well,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like he's running away. And Gerard, that is a brilliant point
Yeah.
in getting local law enforcement involved,
Absolutely.
just as a receiving. Hey, they're on their way. This
Right.
is, we know they're going to transport
This is a
to this.
life-saving measure right now.
Right.
We need to.
Right.
This has to happen.
This isn't something that we're worried that he's going to jump out of the helicopter, steal the helicopter, kill the pilot,
Right.
crash the bird. It's not going to happen.
This isn't Con Air.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Right.
He's going to be RSI'd and he's going to
Danny
be
Trejo is not on
intubated and
board.
he's going to be
Yes.
sleeping
Right.
the whole way. So no med flight was ever called,
Yeah, I don't like
right? I didn't like that either. But now here is the fucking crazy part. And this is the part that I alluded to that I don't even think is legal. But I don't know. So this company, this particular company that does their local transports, has in their company policy that they do not leave district.
What?
Period. End of story.
What?
Yes. So, as it was explained to me, they could get a stroke. They could get an MI.
And they don't transport
They
to the
could
right
get a
facility?
multi-system trauma. They could get a stub toe.
And they're
It
all going
goes to the critical access
That's
center.
bullshit.
Period. End of story.
You know, I wouldn't.
How
I
busy?
know.
How busy are
I
you
wouldn't
in a
last there for
town?
more than a day.
How busy
I
are
wouldn't
you
even
in
get
a
hired there
They
if I
town
heard
of
that.
They would fire me in a
4,000
day.
people that you cannot go to the proper hospital? What do you do? 2 calls a day in a town of 4,000 people?
If that.
Still.
But I'm saying it's
So-
not like they're so busy that they
Right.
need an ambulance.
Right, but I mean, and let's be honest. For whatever reason, the more rural, the more legit the calls seem to be. You know,
Yeah, because nobody
Agreed.
calls when you're out in the
Right.
middle of nowhere because
Exactly.
they figure it out.
so
Right.
right. So all the more reason to
Go to the
not
appropriate
have-
center.
right, not have this type of policy in place.
Yeah. So
Is it a written policy or just one of those?
no,
like,
this
assumed?
is in the SOPs of the business.
Wow.
I don't like.
You know, that's bullshit.
I have never heard of something so ridiculous.
I'm
I
pre-
have never heard of something so
I
crazy.
am pretty sure that the law offices of Dewey, Fuckum, and Howe will probably have something to say about that.
Like,
yeah.
I'm so glad that she got that. but it's it is mind-boggling to me how, again, you could have figured out flight,
Right.
so you don't have to transport outside of your district.
Right.
Nope, we're just not going to
And-
try.
and
We're
honestly-
just going to go where we normally
Right, and
go.
honestly, I want to get to that critical access hospital. That's my closest option to get this guy intubated, get this guy, some blood product, really have things taken care of with a physician. Right, I can get a doctor's hands on this guy a lot sooner.
Right,
So I
While
have
we're
a
waiting
question.
for the aircraft.
right.
At what point do you cross the line between nearest closest facility to stabilize and
Going to the
go
appropriate
into
center.
the appropriate
To
center?
me, it's a question of if I can honestly say that this patient can last the hour,
Mhm.
that if we're going to go an hour to the appropriate facility, and I can answer the question in my mind that, yep, he's going to make it, no questions asked, 100%, we're going to the appropriate facility. If I go, well, it could go either way, we're not going to the appropriate facility. We're going straight to the nearest one.
And I'll take it one further because, yes, you do have to look at it as, are they going to make it in that hour drive or the 10 minutes to the critical access? Or is it, okay, what does this patient need? They need blood. Can I give that to them in an hour? No. Do they need an airway? Yes. Are they unresponsive enough that I can do that?
Not yet.
Do I have RSI capabilities? No. So they need a definitive airway. Where can I get that? Critical access.
Right.
I haven't needle decompressed. They need chest issues.
Right.
Like they have chest issues. They need chest
We
treatments.
have B and C issues that we still have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So all measures point to critical access. And even if, Gerard, I liked your point earlier where you go to the critical access and land the bird at the critical access
Right,
and
or
say,
nearby,
listen,
whatever, yeah.
right, and say, listen, we're going to boogie over there. It's 20 minutes plus lift for the aircraft. Cool, whatever. Meet us there.
Right.
And
By the time
And the
they've
patient
got
will
blood
be
hanging and everything.
right, and they'll
Right.
be in a lot better shape to get on that chopper.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I like that idea. I don't think that this gentleman is ever going to make it the hour.
No.
I would be hard pressed, even without that stupid policy, to bypass the critical access or the bird.
Yeah,
I also have a follow-up
I was
question.
going to say, I mean, like in this situation, yeah, I'm going to the critical access not because it's my policy. It's because this is actually the right thing to do.
Correct.
So,
You know,
say there's a cloud over Omaha. You're not getting a bird. Is it possible, not that you're kidnapping a doctor, but to take
Absolutely.
a doctor and some blood and just be like, hey, we're going for a
absolutely.
drive?
Or believe it or not, you can. I mean, depending on how close the freaking airport is, I mean, you can bring the flight crew in the back of the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this actually sounds like a place I used to work out west, and we actually had one of the air medical birds literally like half a mile from our station, and the local critical access hospital is literally like a block away from our station.
Mm-hmm.
So we would routinely take people that were critical to the critical access, run over to the airport,
Grab
pick
them.
up the flight crew,
Yeah.
run them back to the hospital, and everybody does, we all kind of pitch in. Everyone pretty much does something.
Yep.
And then once the patient's stable, throw them in the back of the truck, over to the airport, onto the bird, off they go, bye-bye.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it because I have that experience, literally that was like the first thing I thought of was, yeah, this dude's going to that hospital. I'm getting a bird. I'm putting him there.
Right.
And we're going to, if we have to move the flight crew ourselves, we'll do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, those are operational type things that
Yeah.
people don't necessarily think about.
Or know of.
Right.
No. Oh, and that's the other thing. And I know the company that we primarily use here in this state, or in this part of the state, yeah, their whole thing is, yeah, I mean, if you want us to get in the back of your ambulance, because
do it.
the weather sucks or our pilot timed out or whatever, we'll do it.
Right.
And I've transported, I've been in the back with the flight crew and the patient, for an hour and change going, to a hospital before. So, yeah, I mean, I would have to imagine it's not dissimilar in other places.
I agree.
So
Yeah. Especially because, again, like the company that my wife works for is in 48 of the 50 states.
that is true. Yeah. So
And their policies are similar
Right.
across the board.
pretty much.
So they this crew begins the 10-minute transfer to the critical access center. The medic is still ventilating with the BVM,
And what is EMT doing?
driving,
Oh, okay.
because
Right. Gotcha.
they only have 2-person crew. He's now bradycardic, still losing blood pressure
Are
because
guards CFR
shocker.
certified?
No,
Oh.
at least I don't know. Honestly,
Here.
I don't know.
Guard?
I think they
No,
have to have
I think
CPR.
they have CPR, yeah.
Guard, start bagging.
Well, it depends on what level of CPR they've been trained to.
Right,
Are they trained as a provider or are they just trained as bystander?
right. I
That's
honestly don't know the
crap.
answer to that. That'd be something good to ask the next time we go into prison around
I'll
here.
ask.
Oh, I don't know how to bag. Okay,
I know
here,
a
guard. Here's
CO.
your pocket mask. Have fun.
Yeah.
Please hold. I'll let you know.
So they so cutting to the chase, as we all know, bradycardia, still losing blood pressure.
Right.
He's gonna code and eventually
Yeah,
does.
and you're just sitting there bagging.
right. You're just sitting there bagging, right? And because the medic is so occupied with the bagging, they completely miss the opportunity to shock the V-fib that goes by on the monitor,
Oh, shit.
right? So because you're bagging,
Well,
you
so-
see it, you're like, oh shit, pads. By the time pads get on the patient,
Right, we're-
V-fib's gone.
Right.
Now we're asystole.
Well, it's funny. I mean, so I painted myself into this exact corner before. Not this
Not this bad.
Not this exact. Well, I mean, not exactly like this, but in the same point where I had to make a decision: do I just say fuck it and let's go, and I'll just bag the patient all the way there, or do I continue to try and I mean, after being on scene for like 40 minutes trying to, get things taken care of, it was just finally just fuck it, let's just go.
Right.
And it was the same thing. I painted myself into a corner, and
This is my job.
and I lost.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I mean, there was one thing I could have done, but I never thought of it at the time. But
Yeah.
well, I'm sure we'll probably talk about this someday.
Yep.
But yeah, but once you commit yourself to that
Action.
yeah, that's it, man. Your whole world is now they're breathing.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, again, if you stop, they die.
Yeah.
And here's just a case where everything compounded. You knew this was going to happen eventually, and they just
I mean, maybe grab one of the nurses from
Yeah.
the place. Hey, come with us.
yep. If
No, I-
if,
I
if
we're
need-
they
going
could,
10 minutes
need-
down the
I-
road.
right, if they
We're
could
going 10
spare
minutes down the
him.
road. I need extra hands.
Yep.
I don't care.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. What about calling the local fire department?
Right,
Say,
somebody.
hey, do you have local EMTs available?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
You
know what
know?
they've got.
I don't
I don't know
either,
what
but
this
I'm
is,
just
but yeah.
spitballing ideas. Again,
Yeah, just-
operational help.
Especially in a
people who
town
have
that
an
small,
idea of
you
what
could
to do.
probably call somebody else that works for that ambulance agency.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, he's now in asystole, and the medic stops bagging, begins manual CPR.
Yep.
They arrive at the hospital a few minutes later, and
It's like he was only 10 minutes away.
right. And I'm going to put in air quotes the ER staff because remember, critical access is
Right.
really not an ER. Takes him in and continues the resuscitation. Now, it was told to me that at this point in time, this ER has no RT on staff at this point in time.
Okay.
There's 2 RNs, 1 ER tech, and 1 PA managing the ER.
Yeah.
Do PAs intubate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
In certain critical access centers, they are given doctor level
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't really know what a PA can do, so.
PA
It's
stuff.
Dr. Light.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like an intermediate. It's like a paramedic light. You know, they can do sutures, they can give,
Yeah,
prescriptions, and,
they can write scripts. They can do all this stuff,
they can
yeah.
do a lot of things,
I don't
but
know if they could intubate.
Oh, yeah.
they can in critical access places. I don't know if they can in like an ER under a physician.
Well, some ERs too, like only respiratory therapists
Right,
can
yeah,
intubate.
doctors don't even do it,
Right,
yeah.
Right. And that's where I say
Well,
in
which is funny that the place I was literally just talking about where I used to work, and the critical access facility there, they would routinely call us.
to intubate.
Like, yeah, they'd be like, "Hey, are you guys in quarters?" And we're like, "Yeah." Hey, can you come down? Because at the time we were actually based out of the back of the hospital, and they were like, "Hey, can you come down here? We need somebody intubated."
Mm-hmm.
And I'd come down and like, "Okay, what do you need?" Okay, here we go. Bloop.
Yep.
All right. See
Yeah,
you later, bye.
it's-
Bye, guys.
You know.
Policy is interesting
Yeah.
depending on where you are,
Yep.
what people can do. So, as I said, no IV lines were ever actually placed until they got to the ER. So they begin by placing the 2 IV lines. They start running fluids and immediate blood products during the resuscitation. Epinephrine was given via ACLS protocols, and he was actually intubated after doing a needle decompression in the left chest wall.
Okay. Finally.
So finally, right? After approximately 15 minutes, they're actually able to regain pulses.
Yeah, it's because they gave him something to circulate.
Correct, right? And they fixed the lung issue.
right.
That whole,
It was probably crushing his heart.
right, so that whole tension pneumo factor.
Yeah.
So they begin a Levophed and an epinephrine drip to maintain the blood pressure and the heart rate. And he is also receiving, this I don't technically agree with, but they started doing a Versed for sedation, which I don't know.
With that blood pressure.
Well, that's it. You're giving them Levophed and epinephrine to hold the blood pressure, and then you're going to give them Versed to not hold the blood pressure.
Maybe it's all they have.
It's possible. I honestly don't know. But again, something just for food for thought for us. You got that stuck to the goddamn table, didn't you?
I couldn't get it off.
You
so.
suck.
Hey, she didn't want to pull it out of her bra.
You suck, you
It was
jackass.
it was stuck on my shirt that I didn't realize was stuck on my shirt.
Fucking stickers. So anyhow, as we're winding down on this, I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts to the whole incident here. I know there's a lot of operational things,
Yeah.
but care-wise, what do you What do you
did we
think
do?
about the care that the EMT and the paramedic provided?
What did we
I-
do?
Not a lot.
No, see, like I was on board with the, maybe let's start getting out of this prison sooner rather than later. But you gotta do some work, man.
Right.
I mean, you gotta.
Just because a critical access is
Yeah.
10 minutes away, you still need to do something.
I mean,
That patient died because of
hey,
you.
Right.
Like we've said before. Hey, if I need my EMT, hey, guard, do you know how to drive? Do you have a driver's license? Yeah, good. Get up front. Can your right foot go up and down like this? Yeah, good. That means you can work the gas pedal. Go ahead and drive us to the hospital, okay? Because I need my partner back here with me. So now my EMT can bag, and I can do
Everything else under the sun.
well,
Right.
I
Everything else
I
under the
can
sun.
Use my magic. Yes.
Right. So ultimately, that first crew
Black
leaves.
magic.
Black magic.
Voodoo magic.
Voodoo magic. So the first crew leaves the ER, returns to service because they did a bang-up job. And about 1 hour later, another ambulance arrives to conduct a transport to the level 2 trauma center an hour away.
Shocker.
Right? This is a commercial ambulance service from a whole nother town, staffed with, again, paramedic EMT configuration.
Gotcha.
During the time that the second ambulance took to arrive, the ER also managed to suture some of the more shallow lacerations to,
Yeah, that's good.
do some stuff. But they were unable to close every single one of them. Some are still bandaged just with gauze and still oozing. So the crew will transfer all of the drips, the vents, and other equipment over to their stuff.
Oh, that poor paramedic.
Yep. Package this patient into their ambulance. And the only drip that was not able to be transferred was the blood because they don't have the capabilities without the nurse on board to do the blood. So vital signs are retaken by the second paramedic, and the BP is 73/50 via the NIBP cuff.
Okay.
And that's, again, with epi and levofed running. And heart rate is 78. Sinus rhythm on the monitor. Respiratory rate is 18 via the vent. And they're satting at 96%, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So good intubation, we're doing good things here.
How long was he without oxygen to the brain, though? That's
Again, who knows, right?
Too long.
Way too long. So transfer begins, and during the trip, the medic notes that the blood pressure begins to steadily decrease, while also they're trying to combat that by increasing the dosage of the levofed.
Well, this is my other question. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we know he had volume loss because, he was tanked. Where did it go?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
You didn't describe like a murder scene.
Nope.
So-
there was blood on him,
But we had
underneath of him.
But we had a lot of stab wounds.
But there was a lot of stab wounds.
I'm
So
thinking
again,
a lot
where
of
the
it-
fuck did it go?
I think a lot of it went in the cavity.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, how big's his belly?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What did they nick with the freaking shank? Thank you. I had to get approval. That was the right word.
Yes,
right?
that was the right word.
So,
Right. Noun and verb.
Yeah,
Noun
which
and
which
verb.
organs and shit got nicked on the way in?
Yep.
Probably a
or-
spleen.
Yeah.
Wait, right side?
Right side.
You have your vena cava there too. You've got aorta over here. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in there that bleeds.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
Not the spleen.
they're trying to fight the blood pressure
That's your
decrease
liver.
via the levofed by increasing that dosage. But as you literally just alluded to, the medic also notes that the bandaging is still wet. Right. It's still getting more and more wet. Thank
That
you,
freaking
Emily.
wet bandage.
And the abdomen is now becoming firm.
Okay, that's where it's going.
And it's now slightly distended from just when they met them, 15, 20 minutes ago.
Honestly, good for this paramedic for noticing that.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
You see the tale of two sides here, right?
Yeah.
So they will actually make it to the level 2 trauma center. And
Yay.
they have a systolic pressure of 61, a heart rate of 68. So he's not phenomenal,
Yeah.
but he's living at this point in time. He is sent to the
There
OR.
are many levels of dead.
I
He's
was
just,
like,
he's
by
just
his
mostly
thread.
dead.
He's just mostly dead,
Yeah.
right?
His foot is over.
So he's sent to the OR after a brief time in the ER because the ER wanted to place an immediate chest tube.
Right.
So they place a chest tube, send him up to the OR. He then undergoes 2 multi-hour surgeries.
I would imagine.
Right. And sadly, he does not make it out of the second surgery. So with what I got, apparently there was, significant internal bleeding. They did find, some severe liver damage on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
And again, you carry 13%
Cares so much
of
for
your
liver.
blood volume in your liver at any 1 second. That's a
Your
lot.
liver bleeds. Your liver and your spleen are your two biggest bleeders
Right.
in the
Yeah,
body.
and,
Right.
and that would have been the other thing to look at is the color of the blood coming out of the wound.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not bright red, if it's like
Dark.
has a dark black look to it,
Yep.
that's a pretty good clue that the liver just got
Yeah.
toasted.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got
Yeah.
shivved.
shivved. Yes.
So there's just a whole lot to unpack in this whole, in the call as a whole. I think the biggest thing is, and we've nailed it multiple times, is not addressing the ABCs as we should have in this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, there was a whole lot of stuff being done, but there was a whole lot of nothing being done while you're doing whatever.
I mean, absent lung sounds on one side, diminished on the other. Okay, you addressed this, the one, chest wound. How about, let's ventilate this patient.
Yeah. Immediately.
BLS level, stuff right there.
Right.
You don't even have to think about
The
that.
nurse was there.
Right.
Right. The nurse
You're a nurse. You know how to do
could
this,
be
right?
bagging. The nurse was already bandaging stuff. Let them bandage. The EMT could go and bag the patient.
Yeah.
Use those resources.
Absolutely. I think that right there is probably, I think one of the problems with this one is not using the resources appropriately. Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, this is just hearsay and opinion, but where was the mindset of the paramedic in this whole situation to...
In prison.
Yes, I know that's where they were.
No, but maybe,
Hello, Captain Obvious.
but they're at a
We're
prison
picking
call
on her a lot today.
with a really bad shiving, and honestly,
Shiving just sounds
they
dirty.
might have just lost their head, and it's not an excuse, but
No, I mean,
We're human. It happened, and that's why I bring it up,
when
because
you take it as a whole, it almost has this. So I mean,
were they a baby paramedic?
Initially-
Was this their
I honestly,
second call ever?
have no idea.
initially I'm thinking, like, my train of thought would be, okay, we know it's going to be, a 20-30 minute process to get out. So, okay, let's move things along a little faster than I would have normally liked to. But when you take the whole call now, so we got all the information, we have the entire picture, and to me, looking at everything in its entirety, it screams, I just want to get to the fucking hospital as fast as possible right now. I don't care. Let's just go.
Yeah.
We got to
Fear.
get to the hospital. Okay,
It's
gotta get to the
almost
hospital. We
like
gotta
they're
get to the hospital.
scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's get theiritis.
Right.
We just got to go to the hospital.
That's a new one.
That isn't. We've been making up a lot of new words today.
That's actually an aviation term.
Yeah.
Get theiritis.
Yeah, get theiritis. Yeah.
All right. But no, it really does sound almost more like,
Hold on. What the fuck?
Hold on.
What?
She literally just she did like a magician thing, like how they usually, all of a sudden, boom, a flower pops out of their freaking hand.
Yep.
She literally did the whole thing, poof, and a fucking laryngoscope handle just popped out into her hand.
Yes.
Did you see that?
No, I'm not so surprised because I know that
What?
I know that is in her pocket.
Why is that in your pocket?
Because there's only so many baby scopes to practice with. So I keep it in my pocket so I can practice on the mannequin.
Her hands are too small for
I
the
can't
for the
hold
big
the
boy
normal
handle.
one.
So she intubates with the tiny handle.
Gotcha.
So when we need to practice, I need to be able to find a baby scope
'Cause
without breaking out
and-
the peds kit every
I thought for a
time.
second she might have had that in a prison wallet. I was like, where'd that come from?
And it shit.
Yes. Thank you.
Good night.
I'm here all week. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the veal.
So
I did it. I did it.
Oh! I didn't think you got it.
She
now.
just got it. We have correlation. We've achieved it.
And now do you understand why tubular rubber?
Yeah.
Slippery.
Yeah.
And there's the full circle,
And there it
everyone.
is.
Fucking A.
That was awesome. Just watching her fully understand the horror of what I was talking about. Like, oh, yeah.
Oh God.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah, my
so,
job here is done.
Yeah. All right. We just need to end this.
I hope everybody has a lovely. I don't even know what day this is airing.
It's
I
it's
will-
airing on the 15th.
I will point out that I did not make a single toss in a salad joke.
That is true.
See? Eh?
I didn't give you the opportunity to really.
Oh, I could have worked it in. In fact, there were a few places I wanted to work it in, but I was like, nah, I'm going to behave. I'm not going to do that.
You behaved never.
People are disappointed now.
Well,
They'll have to listen to the next one. Maybe you can throw it in the blender
you know,
jokes or.
Yeah, like
know.
instead of asking, hey, when was the last time they said normal? Hey, when was the last time they had their salad tossed?
See?
Yeah.
You didn't make it through now.
Hey, there we go.
Fucking children.
I hate to disappoint.
This is why we don't let Kelly here. Because we are
She's just eggs me on, man. She just,
poke, poke, poke.
Yeah. Make a toss and a salad joke. Yeah, I did.
Next.
Anywho, yes. So we will see you in February.
Did we even finish what we were talking about?
We did conclude what we were talking about, though, right?
I
Yes.
don't think so.
Okay.
What? I don't even remember what the fuck we were talking about.
I don't either.
See, there was this call at the prison.
Oh, get their itis.
Oh yeah, that's where we
Right,
derailed.
so-
To get the right.
right, so
you
it-
fuck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I am's what I am's.
Everybody have a good night.
So yeah,
This is why we don't record
I
in the afternoons.
we say that about every time we record. This is why we don't do it in the morning. This is why we don't do it in the afternoons.
We
This is why we don't do it at night.
we should just
We
stop
should just
recording.
give up. We should fucking move on. But no. Hey, guess what? They picked that up in my microphone. So, anyway, I do believe it was a case.
Sorry, COVID cough.
I do believe it was a case. Well, you are one of the branch Covidians.
Yes.
I know, yes. So I do believe it was a case of, hey, I'm freaking out here. Just when you take the whole picture in, it's,
I 100% agree.
I need help. I just got to go.
Right.
I think that's what it all boiled down to.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like that. Again, we can't specifically make, opinions and gestures, but if you're looking at the whole picture, there is a lot of things that happened, again, in a lot of time that they spent with this patient, and nothing really actually happened.
Right.
And I think human error was the human factor, the human stress factor just took over.
Yeah. I mean, it literally looks like everything that was done to facilitate getting the fuck out.
Right. I agree.
You know.
So, guys, I will say toodaloo. We will see you on February 1st. Gerard, lead us out.
Donuts and salads.
Oh, yeah!
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you'd like more information on the podcast or to send us a call to review, visit medicmaterials.com/podcast. To learn more information, like us on Facebook at Medic Materials EDU, or watch our weekly instructional videos on the Medic Materials YouTube channel.